This is a review for research methods in psychology. You will need to get out a sheet of paper and number from 1 to 27, and also have your vocabulary in front of you. Do not use your notes. Anybody can just look something up in their notes. This is a way to test yourself so you can realize what you need to study for your test tomorrow. All right, so you're going to match up the vocabulary term with the description. All right, number 1. This is the I knew it all along phenomenon. And I like to say the Monday morning quarterbacks. People come in on Monday and say, oh, I knew such and such or so-and-so was going to win that game yesterday. But in fact, they really didn't until they actually found out the score of the game. Number 2, this is the idea that everyone agrees with you. You know, I love The Office. I watch it all the time. So I think everybody likes The Office. What is that concept? And you can pause these if I move too fast for you. And the third, this is the idea that we think we are better or know more than we actually do. So sometimes students will say, oh, I don't need to study for that test. I know it. And then they start taking the test and like, oh, no, I probably should have studied. The answer to these, number 1, hindsight bias. Number 2, false consensus effect. And number 3, overconfidence. These two terms students often mix up when they're in this chapter. First of all, number 4, this is a principle that predicts behavior. So you think that depression will lead to low self-esteem. That's your prediction. And number 5, this is how you're going to test that prediction. So you might give people a survey to look at the levels of depression and compare that to a self-esteem scale. That's how you're going to test what you believe. Number 4 is a theory, and number 5, hypothesis. Number 6, this is a type of research study where you're just gathering data, gathering information, you're observing. And there are 3 types of this method. Again, you can pause if you need more time. Number 7, this is an in-depth look at one person or a group of people. Number 8, this is when you watch people in their own natural setting. And number 9, this would be a questionnaire. Number 10, this is a type of research method that looks at relationship between variables. Do they connect in some way? Does an increase in study time have some relationship to an increase in GPA? And 11, this is the only type of research method that shows cause and effect. You manipulate something to see the effect of it. Number 6, descriptive studies. Number 7, case study. Number 8, naturalistic observation. Number 9, survey. Number 10, correlation or correlational studies. And number 11, experimental research or experiments. When looking at correlational studies, This is that number, that statistical measurement that tells you how strongly two variables relate. And it can range from a positive one to a negative one. The closer you get to zero, the weaker the relationship. What is that number called? And number 13, this is a type of correlation where both variables rise or fall together. So an increase in study time correlates with an increase in grades. A decrease in study time correlates with a decrease in grades. What type of correlation would that be? And number 14, this is when the variables go in opposite direction. One goes up, the other goes down. So an increase in gaming would correlate with a decrease in grades. One went up, the other went down. What type of correlation is that? Number 12, correlational coefficient. Number 13, positive correlation. And number 14, negative correlation. This is when we think there's a relationship or a correlation, kind of like a myth that, if you go outside without a coat on, you're going to get sick. We tend to think there's a relationship because somebody told us that before and then we noticed it. Number 15, illusory correlation. When looking at experimental research, number 16, what is the variable that you manipulate? So if you want to see if breastfeeding improves intelligence of the child, okay, breastfeeding would be what you are manipulating. What variable is that? And then number 17, that is the outcome. What is being measured? So in that case, you would look at child's intelligence later in life. And then number 18, this is anything that can alter the study, any outside influence that you must think about beforehand. Number 16, independent variable. Number 17, dependent variable. And number 18, extraneous variable. Number 19 simply means redoing an experiment, and this happens a lot. Someone will do research and publish it, and then somebody else wants to try the same concept. And number 20, whenever you conduct research, you have to specify exactly what you mean. So if you were going to talk about does eating a certain food, say eating pizza, cause violent behavior, well, what type of pizza? You have to be very specific. How much pizza? What is violent behavior? Is it kicking? Is it screaming? Number 19 is replication. And number 20, operational definition. Sometimes experiments are split into groups. Number 21, this is the group that is not manipulated. They do not receive any change. They're your baseline to compare the other group to. Number 22, in many cases, people don't know if they're in the group I just talked about or they're in the experimental group receiving a treatment. What type of research method or study is that? And number 23, this sometimes if you tell somebody that you're going to give them a treatment, you're going to give them some medicine that's going to help them relax, even if it's a sugar pill, they might just start to feel better because it's like mind over matter. If they believe it, then they start to feel it. What is that? 21 is the control group. 22, a double blind. And 23, the placebo effect. Remember, a placebo is a sugar pill or a false treatment. And finally, number 24, What is the average, where you add up all of the numbers and you divide by how many there were? 25, the middle value, having to put them in order from smallest to largest, finding which one's in the middle. What is the most frequent number in the data set? And 27, this is the value you get when you subtract the smallest number from the largest number in the data set. 24, mean. 25, median. 26, mode. And 27, range.